Today we're looking at one of the most annoying things you might face in a practical game of chess, and that is this early bishop sacrifice on the f7 square. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you a universal method to fight back against this early f7 sacrifice. You'll often find yourself in chess torn between different moves and not knowing how to prioritise between them. So we're going to look today through the lens of the priority system that says that king safety comes first, then material. Use that to develop a universal heuristic we can use against these bishop f7 sacrifices that works every time without any need for memorisation. So today we're going to look at a typical position that arises out of the Italian game. Starts e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. It's a very typical position. Now here, white can play the very dubious bishop takes f7 check, the so-called Jerome. Now objectively, this is very bad. However, it drags our king out into the open, leaves us very vulnerable in the short term, and the question is, how do we convert this position cleanly as black? And the answer to that is to make sure we have our priorities correct. So the typical idea from white in the Jerome Gambit specifically is to now play knight takes e5, sacrificing another piece. Obviously we take it, and they follow it with queen h5 check, hitting our king and hitting our knight. Now, there are plenty of candidate moves for black here, but three of them that I want to highlight and let you choose between are these three. Now, two of these moves, these two moves highlighted in red, are forward king moves, which are prioritising material. The idea of these moves is to defend the knight and hold on to the material we've already won. It's neglecting king safety because we're moving our king forward closer to the enemy half of the board. So it's a misprioritization. The third option, king f8, is neglecting material because we are leaving the knight to be captured on the next turn, but it's moving the king backwards further away from the enemy half of the board, and therefore it's prioritizing the king safety. So that one is getting the prioritization correct. Now, with that in mind, have a think, which of these three moves do you think is objectively the best, according to the engine? Which of these do you think is objectively the worst? So the first move I want to take a look at is king f6, prioritizing material over king safety, so a misprioritization. Now, this is an example of where this misprioritization can go really wrong. White carries on with a check. We have only one legal square to go to. They capture the knight with check. We move our king somewhere. It doesn't matter where. They then capture the bishop, and white is completely winning. And the next move I want to have a look at is the other forward king move, king to e6. So we go king e6. They follow it with the same check. This time we have the extra option to run to d6. Again, still holding onto the material, and white plays f4. Now, objectively, this king e6 line was actually the best line. It's considered the refutation of the Jerome Gambit. Now, I don't want you to take away the wrong message here, because it looks like by getting our priorities wrong, in this particular case, we've been rewarded instead of punished. And objectively, that's true if you are playing this using the engine. However, you're getting punished for this in a different way, and that's practically. With a human playing black here, this is still an incredibly difficult position to navigate, and it's still very possible for this to go wrong quickly. In fact, the best move here is king c6, possibly a really hard move to find. It's fine for the engine, they find it, but for a human, very difficult to play. White now plays queen e5, and black is still completely winning. However here, unless you've memorised this position or you've studied it previously, you may just see that the pawn on g7 is hanging, and it may be very tempting to play queen e7, protecting the pawn and offering a queen trade, but now it's completely winning for white. Just like that, it's gone completely wrong. And this is a really good example of getting your priorities wrong. Objectively, it can be fine on occasions, but practically, you're still going to get punished for it because the position you find yourself in is going to be so difficult to navigate. Now, the final move I want us to have a look at is what is considered to be the second best move, according to the engine, and it is the retreating move, king back to f8, which prioritizes king safety because it's coming back ahead of material because it's leaving the knight undefended. And what I hope to show you in the rest of this video is that even though this is the second best move, first of all, it's good enough to still have a winning position, and practically it is infinitely easier than that alternative so-called refutation where we go to e6. So here's where we see the heuristic we're going to be using in the following variations. King safety, it's more important than material, it's more important than activity, it's more important than pawn structure. If you're willing to compromise on those other three factors and just prioritize king safety, you'll navigate these positions intuitively, you'll find the correct moves in the moment, and you don't have to memorize anything. Now, specifically, king safety here is going to look like manual castling. We'll have a look at that in a moment in some variations. There's one small caveat to this heuristic. Yes, we're prioritizing king safety, but across all of chess, if we ever have free moves, so tempo moves, then we can always insert those first. And we're going to see exactly what we mean by tempo moves as we look at the following variations. So let's go back to this position after we've played king f8. Obviously, white takes the knight, and now we have a decision to make. Do we immediately start the process of manual castling, or do we have a free tempo move we can insert first? Now here we have a nice tempo move in d6. It defends our bishop, it attacks the queen, it prepares to develop our remaining bishop. So this is a developing move that comes with tempo. And the tempo aspect of this means white is not allowed to respond to this with their normal fast developing moves. They have to respond to this by moving a piece they've already developed, which is not what they wanted to do. They want to build up a quick attack. So this is a tempo move, which means we can insert it for free. Now the question is, where is this queen going to run to? There are lots of places it can run. We're going to look at a few of them, not because we want to memorize these lines. I just want to demonstrate this heuristic in being applied in a real situation. Let's start by looking at the move queen h5. Do we start manual castling, or do we have a free tempo move available? Well, here we have the move knight f6, hitting the queen, winning a tempo, forcing it to move. Let's say they go back to e2. Do we have a tempo move? Well, actually, I think this move queen e7 is an interesting tempo move, not because it's threatening to win the pawn on e4. That would be prioritizing material ahead of king safety. It's a tempo move because if we win the pawn on e4, then it would be forcing a queen trade. And it's a tempo because if you're a piece up and you manage to force a queen trade, then the game is essentially over. Without white's queen, they have no hopes of delivering a decisive attack if they're down a piece. Now, let's say they defend that and they stop that with knight c3. Now, here, I don't see any clear tempo moves for us, so we should be starting the process of manual castling, which typically would look like king f7, rook f8, king g8. However, because we're missing our f7 pawn, I think a really useful heuristic you can use here is to first fill in the gaps and put this bishop on that light square diagonal just to protect all of these vulnerable light squares leading towards our future castled king. So the move I recommend here is bishop e6. That's how I recommend you start this manual castling process. I just want to show you what might happen if you avoid this step and you immediately go for king f7 and manual castling. Let's say white plays d4 now. We've got a free pawn. We take it and they play queen c4 check and winning our bishop. Now, you could look at this and say, I just missed the tactic. However, this tactic was always likely to happen just because we left ourselves vulnerable on these light squares. So I recommend the manual castling, you start by filling in those light squares first by playing bishop e6 and just filling in these gaps. Let's say they now play d3. Again, I don't see any clear tempo move, so we continue the manual castling process. King f7. They castle. Again, I don't see any tempo moves. We play rook h to f8, continuing the castling. They play knight a4, for instance. Well, we might as well bring this bishop back, avoid ruining our pawn structure. They take, we recapture, we activate our rook. They play f4, and we finish manual castling. It might look a bit scary if they play f5 here, but again, we just bring the bishop back and we make sure we keep this solid castle in front of our king. Look what we've managed to create here. We may not have three pawns in front of our king, so it's not a very conventional castle, but we have a bishop replacing one of the pawns, and this is a very safe position for our king. Yes, white has a scary pawn chain, but don't forget, white is down a piece here. This is completely winning for black. Let's have a look at another possible retreat and square for the queen. Queen c3. So do we have a tempo move here? Yes, we've got queen f6 threatening the queen trade. If they want any chance to win this game, they have to avoid it. So they play queen g3. Now in last week's video, we looked at what we can do when there are enemy pieces on that weird g3 square. We can just throw our wing pawns up the board immediately. So h5. And the reason is they feel obligated to play h4 as a response to stop us from playing h4. Do we have a tempo move? Yes, we can play queen e5 threatening the queen trade. They avoid it with queen f3 check. We can block it with knight f6. And notice, again, this is a tempo move. Not because we're threatening to win the pawn on e4. We're not interested in material here. That's not our priority. But because if we take that with the queen next turn, it comes with check and forces a queen trade. That is our priority, the queen trade. Let's say they stop it with d3 and we ask, do we see a tempo move here? Well, if you see the tempo move bishop g4, actually that queen is essentially trapped and it has to come to f4 and we get the queen trade. And we can just stop the analysis here and say this is an easily winning position. We're a piece up with the queens off the board. However, if you go back, maybe you don't see the move bishop g4. Maybe in your mind, you're starting to think about the manual castling process and you see this move bishop e6, protecting this vulnerable light square diagonal towards our future king position. That's also perfectly fine. If you don't see the tempo move, starting the manual castling process is also good. Let's say white goes knight c3 here. Now I want to show you another form of manual castling, specifically in this structure where we've got a pawn on h5 and a rook on h8. That rook on h8 is already in a good spot and doing a good job. It's protecting our pawn on h5, and in the future it might also want to perform a rook lift like this. So there's no need for that rook to try and come to f8 to perform a kind of conventional castling structure. What we can actually play here instead is just king to g8 and say that rook is fine where it is. This king is good where it is. We're safe on this h7 square because our rook is defending it. We're safe on this diagonal because our bishop is defending it, and we're safe kind of laterally as well because our other rook is defending this way. You could even stop the analysis here and just say we've finished manual castling in this h5 pawn structure. This is perfectly safe. So here's a summary of what we've learned today. When your king is in check, it naturally wants to run towards the corner. When you have a free tempo move available, you might as well insert it. In these early sacrifice lines, our king is always in danger, so the king safety is always our top priority. You may not always find the best lines, but you'll always find very good lines. If you like this video, please comment, please like and subscribe, and join next week when we're going to be looking at sacrifices on the h7 square.